Hello Facebook. Hello, welcome to another Middletown History Vault. Facebook Live. We're going to open up Middletown's History Vault once again. We're standing outside the Liberty Band Hall. So welcome Facebook. Hopefully we get some people to jump on in here. We're going to talk about the Liberty Band Hall today. It's a beautiful day out here on Sunday. Put a different lens on last week on my phone, so it was wide angle. This week I look a lot closer because I don't have that lens with me today, but we're happy you're here. The Middletown Area Historical Society is glad you're here as we open up Middletown's History Vault and we talk about the Liberty Band Hall today. It's a little breezy, so hopefully the sound will be fine. Welcome, a few more people coming in. So, Liberty Band Hall today. If you're here with us, let us know where you're at, where you're coming from, and hit that emoji down there. Give us a like, say hello. So we're talking about the Liberty Band Hall today. Originally, the Liberty Band Hall was the Salem Lutheran Church of Oberlin. The building was dedicated back in 1846. The building was then enlarged in 1897. They included a steeple, a vestibule, and a recessed pulpit, which was more of like a balcony. Later in 1912, they actually took the building and they moved it to the rear of the parking lot where the church currently stands. So they moved it so they could temporarily have a place to worship, but then build a brand new building. The church people moved it themselves. It cost them $200 to move the church just to the rear so they could build their new building. It's not exactly known how the Liberty Band acquired the building. They did purchase it somewhere between 1913 and 1916. We could say that the Salem Lutheran Church was dedicated on January 19th, 1913. So clearly they were no longer using what is now the Liberty Band Hall as their place of worship. So the Liberty Band had purchased it somewhere in those 3 years, and they had moved it to its present location here in Middletown. The property that the Liberty Band Hall sits on is from the Pennsylvania Railroad. The Liberty Band purchased that land from the PA Railroad, which is pretty convenient. It's probably 30-40 yards or so just north of the Liberty Band Hall. Now, as to how that the Liberty Band Hall was moved, it's a little unsure. Some people say that it was completely torn apart and moved down here and rebuilt at its current location, and some say that it was actually put on carts and moved here by wagon. The cornerstone of the building says Liberty Band in 1916. We know that the foundation was built here by the Baumbach brothers and some other Liberty Band members. So we know that the foundation was built specifically for the Liberty Band Hall to be placed right at its current location. The Band Hall itself was never really a fancy building, pretty much just a clay horsehair plaster. There's some past history of recall of maybe some posters and some flags hanging on the wall. It had wooden chairs for the band members and a wooden pedestal, which would have been the conductor's spot where he conducted the band. Now, in the center of the building is one big beam that runs from front to back, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to go in there today. The beam runs all the way from one end to the other. It's 10 inches wide, 12 inches thick, and runs the complete length of the building, and all of the trusses are wooden pegged to that beam. Now, the Historical Society unfortunately doesn't have a lot of memorabilia from the Liberty Band itself. No flags or podiums or batons or any of the chairs. We know that in 1966 that there were some musical instruments donated to various bands around the area, including the Bainbridge Band. Some were given to the Middletown High School Band, the Tall Cedars of Lebanon Band, New Holland Band. But other than that, there really isn't a lot of memorabilia from the Liberty Band itself. The building would have been heated by coal. There's records showing that there was a potbelly stove purchased and 2 tons of coal, and they would have put that in there and then kept the building warm. There's also some records that show that it probably had electric. The band members stated about having to lower the ceiling lights so they could clean them. The band hall went under the flood of Agnes in 1972. This entire area around the building was completely covered in water, but the building survived. The Redevelopment Authority of Dauphin County then took over the building, and they leased the property to the Middletown Borough, who then leased it to the Middletown Historical Society. In order to restore and preserve this building, the Historical Society purchased it from the Redevelopment Authority in 1981. Now, besides the flood, vandalism would strike this building a couple times. For instance, one was a fire on the back side of the building. There used to be a porch. The fire consumed that porch. Thankfully, to the swift action of the fire department, they were able to put that fire out. Some of the boards on the back of the building got burnt. They were replaced, and the building itself was saved thanks to the quick response of the people that reported the fire and also the fire department itself. Now, a little bit about the Liberty Band itself. It was basically formed by the Bombacks. It's a name here in town that a lot of people know. The Bomback Brass Band, they were founded in 1858, followed by the Harmonic Band, chartered in 1868, and around 1875 some members of these bands merged to create the Liberty Band, which then became chartered in 1884. Mr. Guido Bomback organized the Liberty Band. Although he was a member of his own 1858 brass band, Bomback, a German immigrant, came to the country from Hesse, Germany, landing in New York with a few musical instruments and little knowledge of English itself. He spoke to the people through his music. So he would often sleep under the trees in New York. He found employment. He worked for many trades, including a music teacher. He was a soap maker. So I do apologize. I am reading some notes on Mr. Guido Bomback. I'm not 100% on him. Leather crafter. Once he worked for Colonel Cameron Young of Middletown. He was also a landowner and a businessman. He owned a shoe repair shop on Union Street in Middletown. He later had a bakery business at 218 Ann Street, which was now the Mansburger Elementary School, is currently apartment buildings. The band was very active in Middletown until 1966, when it officially disbanded. They played in a variety of areas from Maryland to Washington, D.C., New York, and Canada. The band was apparently a fun group. They had a lot of annual socials, dinners, and picnics. They would load coal barges and go up and down the Susquehanna River, 10 to 20 boats at a time, following to Hill Island and then to Goldsboro, and they would play on those barges all the way. The band had some uniforms purchased that actually the people of Middletown helped purchase those uniforms for them. Unfortunately, in the 1950s, the band started having some financial problems as well, and before you know it, their efforts to maintain, they collapsed in 1966. The building would then sit empty, and then, as stated before, the Middletown Historical Society would then take it on, and they would restore the building to an extent of fixing some of the exterior, as well as putting a new roof on. The goal is to ultimately redo the inside so that someday it can be used again as another activity hall, or even be rented out for receptions and parties, birthday parties, anniversary parties, etc. So that's the Liberty Band Hall for today. If Middletown Historical Society is something that's on your heart and history is something that you love, consider sending a donation into them so they can continue to preserve this history in Middletown. Their address is 29 East Main Street. You can send a check right to them. They are a 501c3 organization. Again, we thank you for visiting. I'm going to flip the camera around. We're going to give you a little view of what the building looks like on the outside, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you. This is the front entry of the Liberty Band Hall. Goes around to the side. It does sit next to the Swatara Ferry House, which we will discuss another day. And here's the side of the building. You can see that foundation that was made by the Baumbach brothers and some other band members from the Liberty Band. They would then have the hall sat on that location. So again, if you enjoy history and it's something that is part of your life, and you can help continue to preserve this building and many others in Middletown by sending a contribution. We're hoping to have a donate button on the website soon. You can also visit the Historical Society website, www.middletownareahistoricalsociety.org. Again, we'd like to thank everybody for coming and visiting. My name is Mike, and next week we're going to talk about something pretty special. We're going to talk about the Middletown Resolves. So stop in next Sunday around 2:30 and we'll have another session of the Middletown History Vault. Thank you and have a good day.